Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Transformation Talk. I'm here today with the beautiful Jessica Colp, who is a life coach and a modern-day priestess. She teaches transformational classes, changing people's lives on her own, in her coaching practice, and also through Earth School, which she can tell you a little bit more about. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted that you're here. So Jessica and I met right before I moved out of LA. You had moved in not long before that. And so we had some great personal connection. And then I was part of a networking group, and I sort of went, oh, I'm leaving. I need someone to step in. And I invited you in, and it worked out really well, I think.
I know you passed the duty of being secretary of the group on to me.
That's right.
Which made sure that I showed up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I met so many wonderful people through that.
Yeah. It's been so great, and we've just stayed in touch and spoken at a couple of the same events. And I have to say, you are one of the. I just launched a teleclass called Shine, and you are one of the people that I think of when I think of people I know who shine, because you just have this absolute glow about you, and you always have a smile on your face. And I remember at the Her Story conference when you spoke, you talked about, when you wanted new clients, you didn't really market, you just turned your energetic open sign on. And so you are one of the master sort of manifestors that I know. And I know that you really do help people shift their lives. So I'm thrilled to talk to you today about all this.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell me, you are from Alaska. You were a school teacher. Tell me how you ended up moving from that life to this life. Because I know it wasn't necessarily easy the whole time.
Yeah, it's so much more fun looking back and figuring out the threads of connection and seeing how that happened. When I was 27, I had been married for 7 years, and I started reading some books, some kind of spiritual self-help inspiration books, and started to have these epiphanies, like, wow, I don't have any friends, and I'm not really sure what's meaningful in my life, and my marriage, there's not really much there anymore. And I had just it's like this inner push out of this very safe, conservative, traditional, exactly what I was raised for life, into Jessica on her own. And I made the choice that year. I mean, it wasn't an easy choice. It took me a whole year to make this choice and a lot of support. I made the choice that year to leave my marriage, which was probably the first decision I'd ever made that was completely from my own heart for me.
Wow.
And I didn't know what was going to come of that. I mean, I knew that I was willing to not be married anymore, despite what anybody might think, or despite what my conservative family, with their family values, would think of me. I didn't know how it would lead one thing to another. When I look back on that year, what I know is it was a year of deep internal reflection. I had multiple things happen that year that just landed me pretty much into my bed. Like, I would have to get up and function in the world, and then I'd come home and lie on my bed and hardly be able to move and hardly be able to do anything but cry and journal and read books. And out of that came all new interests. Like, it was really it was this year in which I listened to my heart. So out of that came me pursuing meditation and me pursuing different spiritual things that I'd never pursued before. Me learning from, I hired a spiritual counselor that year who I've worked with every year since. It's been a dozen years since then, or every month every since then.
Wow.
So I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for the work that I've done with her. And things just really grew. And I recognize that as a turning point of like this pre-stage to this life that I'm in now as a life coach, right? Like, I needed years of just tuning into me. What do I value? What do I want? What lights my spirit? What's true for me? What's authentic? What do I really want to learn and master in this lifetime? Out of that came there was more years of living in Alaska and teaching school and kind of rebuilding friends and community from a new place. And then out of that came this just knowing that I was going to, it was time to leave Alaska, that the reason to leave wasn't going to come and land in my lap, that I needed to be the impetus for leaving. Mm. And when I was, let's see, it was, how old am I? When I was in my mid-30s, when I was 34, I made the choice to leave Alaska and come to LA and to do a life coach training program. I sold everything I owned. I gave up my cat. I put just what would fit in my car, and I drove here. Just on this knowing of, I'm going to be a life coach, and the school that I want to go to is in LA, and I don't know what's going to happen, and it's going to be fine. And it was. Like, I manifested exactly what I needed when I got here. I had this vision that I would be able to move to LA and live rent-free for the 9 months that I was in the coach training program. I had this whole conversation with the universe and made this deal with the universe. Like, I will move, and you've got to line up a place for me to live. And I manifested that. I manifested a woman who needed my help in her home, and I lived rent-free for 9 months. Mm. And I did my classes. I came here. I just was so drawn to Agape International Spiritual Center, and I took classes there, and I did my coach training. And then I crashed. It was a total crash and burn. And that's the second really tough year of my life that I know has made me who I am. Mm-hmm. In that year, I remember days where I could barely get out of bed. I would get out of bed and I would land into child's pose on my living room floor. Like, I can't do yoga, I can do child's pose. And just start sobbing. And know that I was probably going to cry a whole lot more that day. And I was barely going to function, and I would, I would take care of myself. And just knowing that I'm cracking open and I cannot stop the floodgates. When I look at that time, what I know what was important in that was everything that I had defined in my identity. Like, I'd given up marriage and I'd given up my job, and then there was everything else. Like, everything that I had known myself to be got to crumble away that year. Mm. Till it was a complete blank slate of who is Jessica and what am I here for, and how do I walk through the world, and how do I know what's true for me? Like, on a whole nother level than it had been when I was 27. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for those years, like those on the ground dark night years, because without them, I know I wouldn't. I feel very in tune at this point in my life to what is true for me, mm-hmm. and I couldn't have got there in just the normal flow of an everyday life. Like, I needed to go into some depths in myself. Mm-hmm. That was a long answer to your original question.
Yeah, but it was perfect, and it's beautiful because that's exactly what I want to know. I didn't have to ask a bunch of questions to get there. So in those moments of, like, falling out of bed into child's pose on the floor, did you know to give yourself permission to just stay there, or did you have to battle some voices in your head about what's wrong with me, why can't I figure this out? So yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what was happening at that time?
Yeah. I think in both years I see this. At first was the shame and guilt and, like, beating myself up. What the heck's wrong with you, Jessica? And isolation in that, which was really miserable. Till my ego was so beat up that I couldn't hold it back anymore. I remember particularly here in LA, one of those mornings of I just could barely function, and I was just a crying mess of fear, doubt, insecurity, questioning. I remember my friend Layla calling me, and I couldn't hide it. Like, up till that point, I'd been able to stop the crying and talk in a normal voice and just kind of hide how miserable and in what poor state I was emotionally. And I couldn't hide it with her. And I remember that she gave me the best advice, which I give to my clients. She said, just be in your heart. Just breathe. You can take it. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Just lie there and breathe in your heart. Be in your heart. And I didn't even know exactly what that would, like that seems actually easier to say than to do. Mm-hmm. However, like, I couldn't do much else, right? So I just lay there and just breathed in my heart. It was like, yep, deep, deep pain, deep grief, deep fear, angst, whatever it was. So sometimes it's just wordless. That I can breathe. I can be right there with it. I can not push it away. I can feel it. I can feel more of it. Right? And just realizing from that point on that that I could take it. That my heart is like as big as the world.
Right.
When I was in my late 20s after I got divorced, I got to be in the play The Vagina Monologues in my town. And I remember it was just one of the most liberating things I'd ever done. And one of the messages in the play is like, the vagina can open.
Oh, yeah.
The vagina gives birth, right? This capacity of women to just be so open and still live. And I remember like feeling that connection of, wow, my heart can break. It can be raw. It can be just splayed out. And I've just grown. Like, I'm not going to die from this. And up to that point, I thought I would. Like, I got to hold it together.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. That is such a perfect example of what I try and teach too, is just that, like, let's just be with it. Stop judging it and be with it. Because it's actually the fastest way through it.
Yeah, and there's power in that. I remember, so at a certain point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to die of a broken heart. I don't even know what my heart's broken about. I'm not going to die from this angst. Then I started to feel every morning like, all right, today I'm going to cry rivers. Bring it, because I can handle it. Like, and that there was something valuable and sweet and empowering even in the midst of deep, deep feeling. When I was no longer pushing it away, it's weird to say, it's like actually enjoying being in that state of such raw everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So then how did you pick yourself up out of that? Or how did life sort of move you out of that?
Very gradually. Very gradually. Like, I know I'm a really good manifester. I like that you mentioned that, and I teach classes on manifesting, and I know that that the capacity to visualize what you want to come is magnetic, and that we have the capability of that. In that state, that like in those 2 years particularly, I couldn't envision something else. Like, I just had to go through it, just walk through it. And very, very gradually, it just felt like more of a dawning of, oh, I am actually sincerely happy today. Like, it's a true happiness. Or I don't feel so afraid. And in that first dark year, I think the biggest fear that I confronted within my inner world was the fear of being alone.
Right.
Like getting divorced, and stepping outside the boundaries of what was expected of me was very alone. It was a feeling of aloneness. I have no more fear in this lifetime of being alone. Like, I know I can be alone. In fact, I really like to be alone. Like, walking through that, and I understand this. Like, I understand a lot of spiritual teachers talk about the dark night of the soul is where you confront what you are most afraid of. And after that, there doesn't have to be a fear of that when you've really walked through it. So the being alone, that got taken care of. And I think when I moved to LA and went through that tough year, I think that fear was a fear that I couldn't support myself. Like, I couldn't take care of myself. That I knew I could be alone. I just didn't know, like, starting a business on my own and being so far away from my family and my community. It was different than aloneness, like isolation. It was like, can I survive this? Will I ever make money again?
Right.
Can I generate for myself? And I'm not afraid of that anymore either, which is a big relief. Like, no matter what happens, I know that inner resource or strength within me that, yeah, I'll take care of myself. I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I always say that going into business for yourself is one of the fastest paths to personal and spiritual growth, because you everything that is in your way, it just gets thrown up in your face.
Nobody told me that.
Yeah, nobody talks about that. I know. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you can relate to this, huh?
Absolutely. So what was next? What did you, as you started to have this dawning of like, oh, okay, I can be happy. I can have these moments of happiness that turn into these days of happiness.
Yeah.
what was your path like after that? Or what has it been like? Because obviously
Yeah.
it's not done.
One thing leading to another, I was coaching a few people at that time, even through what I was going through. I was coaching a handful of friends or friends of friends, mostly at discounted rates, not enough to support myself. And then one thing led to another. And I plugged into new communities. Like I did some business trainings, which was almost kind of a step out of personal growth. Now let me use another part of my brain, right? I got tapped into different communities, and I just the universe would send me a client, and it would scare the bejesus out of me. And then I would realize, no, I'm a really good coach for them, and I would see results, and then my confidence would grow, and then 2 more clients would come in, and that would terrify me, and then it would go well, and then 4 more clients would come in, and just that exponential moving forward. And this is what I know, I have never experienced going from ground zero to 100, right? Like that. Only I can go from ground zero to, okay, things aren't so bad, to, okay, actually things are pretty good. It's like climbing a staircase. And that takes time. And the time is, I know I want things fast, right? My clients want things fast. And yet that time is rich and deep. And it's where things that were deep within me were getting fertilized, and the seeds were starting to sprout in ways I couldn't even have recognized at the time. And yet in looking back, it's just that flow. And I'm so grateful for that now. And I had people tell me this at the time, it's good you're going through this because your clients will, and they'll need to be able to relate to you. I thought, I think I can relate without going through this. Right? Only I'm really glad. I'm glad for the ups and for the downs, and for the richness of that. Because there are gems there that I never would have got without that.
I love that what you were just talking about, that sense of cracking open and things crumbling, because sometimes that happens when a big trauma happens, or a tragedy, or a diagnosis, and sometimes it's like I'm in a strange city and I need to support myself. It can be something so simple that throws us into that place of grief. And I think so often we try and figure it out, and we judge it, and so I love that you were able to eventually just really be with it. And what a beautiful example. And then your life since then has just been this, it's been really fun to watch you just start to soar.
You said, and I really appreciate this, you said that I shine, or I know this about myself. I know that my whole life I've been a smiler. I know it's hard for me to not smile. It's just kind of ingrained in me. It comes from my grandma or whatever. It used to be that the smile it's not that it wasn't always real. It's just that often it masked, whatever, or was what was expected. And what I really feel now is I'm not afraid of the sadness, and I'm not smiling to keep any sadness or pain or angst at bay. I know what that's like. And so then this is real, right? This is real. And I even know that I can smile in the sadness, or I don't have to. The choice is there. I didn't have that before. I only had this as the tool.
Wow. What a beautiful statement. I love that. Just the fact that being able to recognize that I have that choice of smiling when I'm sad or not. And being okay. Yeah. Gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking such good questions. It's fun to look back.
Yeah, once you're out of the pain.
Yeah.
that round of it anyway. We never know when it's going to hit again.
Oh, right. When's the next big year? I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, it's interesting because I think a lot of us who are walking sort of that personal growth, spiritual growth path, it's like there's that little bit of hope. And some people kind of sell it this way. Some of the teachers sell it this way, that if you get to an awakened or a higher awakened state or higher consciousness, you no longer feel that pain. And I think that that's kind of, it's not true, because we're still human. And so it's just having better tools to deal with it, and knowing it's judging ourselves less so that we can really be with it.
Yeah. I was listening to one of my favorite teachers is Michael Beckwith from Agape. And I have this old podcast of his from 2004 that I listened to the other day. And he gets up, like he's up in front of his whole spiritual community, and he says, I'm going through something. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say I was depressed. And I've been going through something for about a week. It's just the kind of that I just don't want to get out of bed. I want to say, hey guys, happy 18th anniversary, because it was their 18th anniversary. It's like, happy 18th, I quit. He's like, that's what I want to say, only I know better. I know that something is growing in my soul. And I listened to that last week and thought, I know that feeling. And I don't need, it's okay, that label of I'm depressed is okay, and maybe sometimes really apt and sometimes really helpful. And I think that this is like, the more awake and conscious we get, the less maybe we even have to label stuff and just go, oh yeah, I'm awake and I'm conscious and I'm going through something. Something's coming up. Yeah. So it is. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Earth School.
Oh, okay. My business partner and friend, Julie Zipper, and I founded My Earth School. It's myearthschool.com, and we have a Facebook page, a community of almost 6,000 people that we post every day. And we're both, Julie's a spiritual counselor, I'm a life coach. We're really similar in the things that we love to teach and how we like to work with clients. So we decided we want to start, we have a big mission. We want the planet to wake up. And so we teach transformational teleclasses, the kinds of classes that teach the things that you didn't learn in kindergarten and you probably should have. And spiritual practices for the modern person. And we just have a big mission of reaching a lot of people with these basic things.
Okay, so people can find you through Earth School, and then you also are coaching on your own.
Yes.
So people can find you through jessicacolp.com, and I'll have that in your bio, obviously.
Thank you.
And is there anything in particular that you're working on right now?
I just advertised yesterday Commune with the Divine prayer class. Never taught a prayer class before. I've been teaching so many classes where we do meditation and affirmation, and we really tap into spiritual principle, like this is a friendly universe. Life is for you, not against you. There is only one. There's a divine order and harmony in the universe, therefore there is in your life. And as I work with those spiritual principles with clients, it just shifts everything. It's a whole different ground to stand on. And it occurred to me that like meditation is where we get quiet and we get receptive. And prayer is really creative, where we get to talk and speak and claim what is true for ourselves. So I'm really excited to teach that. And just add that in and not be shy to teach that, because I know that depending on what sort of background you come from, that might be kind of a weird subject to incorporate into the modern life. Only I'm feeling more like, no, those spiritual practices, like they're just spiritual practices. Who cares what you believe?
Right.
This relationship with the divine is something that behooves all of us to be more in touch with.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Yogi Bhajan quote. He said that prayer is when we talk to God and meditation is when God talks to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that because they're both really important.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And whatever meditation looks like for people, it doesn't necessarily look like... I've been talking a lot about that recently with people, about how it doesn't necessarily look like sitting on a cushion for 20 minutes twice a day for everybody.
So, no, it might not.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. All right, I want to finish up by asking you my 3 questions. So if you could wave a magic wand and change anything in the world, what would it be?
Okay, I was thinking about this, and I love this. So if I could wave a magic wand and change anything in the world, I just would wake people up. And by that, I mean I would change the world so that we couldn't just be on autopilot and just in our heads, so that we really woke up to the greater connection that we all have. And to me, that seems like the root issue. If we just wake up, we'll innovate solutions to war, to Monsanto, to what's plaguing Mother Earth right now. We would do things differently. So that's what my magic wand would do. And I love that question because it made me think about what do I want my superhero power to be?
Yeah. That's a fun way to put it too. Although you already have superpowers, so.
Oh, yes, thank you. So do you.
We all do. It's just a matter of letting them go, letting them change the world. Okay, what brings you the most joy?
Learning. Like learning, taking classes, reading books, being involved and engaged in a discussion that broadens me and opens me up and expands me. Yeah. And if I'm not learning, then I want to be teaching.
Well, because I think we're teaching when we're learning.
Yes.
And we're learning when we're teaching.
And we teach what we want to learn even better.
Yeah. I think I said that backwards, but you know what I mean? Like, either way, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and what is one fun or interesting thing about you that makes you uniquely you?
All right, this one's a little ironic given that I want the whole world to wake up. And I am a huge dreamer and a huge sleeper. I love to sleep more hours than most people probably. And I've been interested in my dreams since I was a teenager. I remember doing a research paper in high school about dreams and lucid dreaming. And I know that I accomplish as much in my sleep as I do when I'm awake. Like a lot of creativity and learning happens there. And it's my favorite thing. Besides learning.
That's great. So do you when you wake up, do you write them down or do you record them in some way or do you just let them sort of be in you?
Sometimes. Usually they just work through the day or sometimes I'll go back to redream something or do some shamanic journey with a dream because there are great keys in there.
So you go back in and consciously go, okay, I want to redo this one or I want to learn something from this one.
Yeah, there's an amazing teacher I discovered, I'll just say this because I love books, Robert Moss, who he has taught shamanic journeying, and I love shamanic journeying, and he was really interested in soul retrieval, which is very powerful as a healing modality, only he teaches people how to retrieve parts of their own soul, entering their dreams to do that, and I love that work.
Wow. Robert Moss.
Yes.
Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That is really cool. I could just sit here and ask you more questions, but I'm conscious of the time, so I want to finish up. But thank you so much for being here, Jessica.
Thank you, Alana. What a great discussion, and I love what you're doing, and I look forward to watching all the other ladies that you interview, and men too.
Yeah, you know, I've only had one man so far, and there were some others that I was interested in, and I just haven't, I don't know why, I haven't made it happen yet, so I got to get some more men in here. Yeah, well, I know you're finding the perfect people in the perfect time, and thank you for including me. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for saying yes. Have a great day. Thank you. You too.